Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Reversing Hashimoto's. I am your show host, Dr. Anshul Gupta. I help people reverse their chronic health conditions, especially Hashimoto's, by making personalized functional medicine plans. And today I'm really excited to talk about a discussion because actually, I want to know more about how trauma impacts Hashimoto's and how we can reverse it. And that's where Dr. Lewis comes into place. So let me introduce Dr. Lewis first before we go into the discussion about all of these things. So Dr. Lewis is an internationally recognized authority on the brain-soul connection. She has been helping transform lives individually and in groups using a unique multi-dimensional approach, including naturopathy, biofeedback, trauma release work, NLP, life coaching, and energy work. Luis is the owner and founder of the Brain Soul Success Academy and the creator of the Brain System, TM, a five-step transformational program that works on the mind, body, soul, and energetic field all at the same time for quicker results that stick. Over the past 30 years, she has helped clients worldwide achieve optimal brain power and success in life and businesses. She is passionate about connecting, clearing blocks to success, and helping others achieve their highest potential. Dr. Louise, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's such great to be here. Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta.
Absolutely. And I think just before we were hitting record, like we wanted to kind of, know more about your journey into this whole world of brain soul connection because you went through your own health struggles and took a long time for you to kind of figure out how to get better. So please share your story about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, about 33 years ago now, I crashed after my son was born, and I was seeking a lot of help from medical doctors at that time. And I had a lot of just diagnoses, but nobody really knew what was wrong with me. So, it was everything from chronic fatigue to MS to lupus, fibromyalgia. And so I was really on my own trying to figure it out. And that's how I ended up more in the natural world. But they didn't have functional medicine doctors back then. I ended up finding an osteopathic doctor who did use supplements and nutrition with me, and I started getting better, but I wasn't still myself. I was still struggling. In fact, I had to be on oxygen when they used pesticides in my neighborhood. So I worked with the mayor to sue the state of Illinois, and we won. So I ended up becoming an activist. I mean, here I was, this school teacher, mom at home, chronic fatigue, had to go to sleep at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My husband's making dinner. It was a really hard time for my family. But I just couldn't stand to see how many kids had asthma and how many people were affected by all those chemicals. So I started learning all about that, as well as how to change my diet. And then I kept going because what I found, Dr. Gupta, was we are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual beings. And really just changing my diet and eating organic food wasn't enough. The other interesting thing for all of you here, because you are here because of thyroid, because Dr. Gupta, she's like an authority on that, right? So you're all listening because you really want to know more about that. Well, you know what? No one diagnosed me with thyroid issues. I clearly had them. I had chronic fatigue, right? My metabolism was off, but they didn't do that back then, or at least I didn't find the right doctors to do that. So that's why I think what you do is so powerful and so, so, so important, and I honor all the functional medicine doctors now. I said, I think Dr. Dunn was an osteopath, but he really was one of the first sort of functional medicine doctors, but that's not what they called them then. Yeah.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. There's so many people who might be listening over here who had gone through years and years of these symptoms and never got the diagnoses, of thyroid or Hashimoto's. And they kept on telling their doctor, something is wrong with me and please check me like completely. And obviously the doctor never listened to them. Or, in fact, a lot of doctors are not even aware of the complete testing. That's the biggest problem. And then obviously people scramble here and there to get information, and sometimes they have to take their own health into their own hands to get better. And I think that's where kind of, I like to have different approaches to this thyroid and Hashimoto's because there is so much more to it. As you correctly said, in your own health journey, that we are focusing definitely on diet and lifestyle changes and whole bunch of things, but there might be some people who needs much more than that. And I think that's where your system is very fascinating, about the system that you're creating, especially like working on trauma and other multidimensional approach to healing thyroid. So tell us more about like how can the past trauma or any of these things be connected to thyroid?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you have chronic fatigue or thyroid, or, you're just not feeling good, or you're any autoimmune, or even beginning sort of autoimmune diagnoses, usually there's past trauma, and the trauma gets stuck in the spaces of the brain. And so I clear that out. And actually, I think I'll show you a picture here. So what I found was I'm just thinking of somebody right now that I worked with who had a lot of fatigue, a lot of thyroid issues, definitely adrenal too, not living her life. Husband had prostate cancer at the time. She was a mom with 2 kids, getting pretty burnt out at work. She was in transition too. So I also see people in transition in their life, like they're not either happy in their world of work, or they're wanting to do something different, or they had to quit because of their fatigue, right? So that's what this woman had. Well, what I found with her is we balanced her thyroid by using supplements and also detoxing. We detoxed the Epstein-Barr virus and protozoa. And she started getting a whole lot better and getting her energy back. And then because I can clear the traumas and the spaces of the brain and really rewire the brain for success in your whole energetic field, she said to me, she says, I don't want to be doing this world of work anymore. I really want to be a flight attendant. I'm like, oh, cool. Let's make that happen for you. So we did. We got her healthy. And, that's hard work. You're flying, you're in radiation, right? So for someone with a thyroid issue and all that fatigue, to get her healthy, she's a flight attendant. She's been doing this for over 7 or 8 years now.
Wow,
Her
amazing.
whole life like literally changed. It was really cool to see. And so after that, I actually did work with, I don't know how many people, 10, 15, 20, 30 people who just started coming in with thyroid stuff to my office. So that's how I started all of this. But really now what I found is that we have to work physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually in the energy field. So we do have to clear those traumas in the brain. And I'll show you, I'll share my screen. And if you're seeing this on YouTube, you'll see a diagram here. If you're not on YouTube, let me describe this to you. It's body. So B is body. It spells brain. So this is all the stuff that Dr. Gupta is doing with all of you, right? This is really helping you with your lifestyle, eating right, taking your supplements, figuring all that out, doing all those lab tests. That's the body piece. That's a foundational piece, and it's important. The R is releasing. This is where we release the mental chatter and the emotional baggage. So this could be the stress or even ancestral trauma. So I find that sometimes people have even past, like great grandma was sick, and that energy is still in their field. It's in their DNA, and it has to be cleared out. So it's releasing both current, childhood, and ancestral emotions and trauma. And then align with spirit is always a part of health and healing. So whatever God means to you, it's non-denominational, it's your belief system, right? So I always see that as a part of health and healing. And then integrate your new brain frequencies to your soul's true purpose. So I also found that when people don't have a purpose, like the example I just gave you, in transition about what she wanted to do in her life, until she found it, got healthy enough to do it, could she really be happy, and successful? So we have to find that. And then the new program piece is actually using some energy work to put in a new program in your energetic field and in your brain. Your brain is like a computer. It actually has rings around it, capacitor rings. And when those rings get off balance, you'll feel off balance. So you could take all the supplements in the world, but you still won't feel like yourself. That's how I came up with the system, because on my own journey, that's what I found. And then I started using it with others. But just to really give you another really cool diagram here this is a picture of an axon and a dendrite. So just think of two nerve endings, and there's a space between the nerve endings. Okay, that space is called a synapse. So this is the brain part. And there's little red beads that jump that synapse. So it shows little red dots on here, and that's serotonin. And so what happens is the serotonin has to be able to leap that space to make the connection so that that message can get to your brain. Okay, so these are nerve endings. Well, here's what happens. Trauma and emotions get stuck in that space. And then serotonin can't leap. And if serotonin can't leap, or any neurotransmitter really, now you're given a serotonin uptaker by your doctor, Prozac, or a generic form of Prozac, when the cause is really clearing the trauma and emotions. So when we clear the trauma and emotions, it is possible to wean off that medication. Now, I am here to say, don't stop your medication, right? Don't do anything right now. You want to work with a doctor on this. I just want you to know that we've done lots of this, and it's possible. It's totally possible. And when we do that, and when we use the whole brain system, this is what's possible. So this is Kimberly. So I'm showing a picture here of a woman I worked with, and we did the whole brain system with. And her face looks kind of just sad in the first picture. And in the second picture, she's smiling really, really big. So that's what's really possible when you use the whole system. Let me go down here and show you another picture here. Again, if you're watching it on YouTube, this woman had a lot of abuse. So this was at an event that I did right before COVID. And so she came to the stage, and we used the whole brain system. And in 90 minutes, she changed. People in the audience were crying. There was a lot that was released that day. And then I bring them back up by rewiring the brain with the truth of how they want to be. And so the picture showing again, she's very, very sad. She's smiling in the next picture. She's happy. The difference is it sticks. It's 90 minutes, right? And it sticks. Now, there's always layers in healing, so I can't say that in 90 minutes all your problems are going to go away. But let me see if I have a picture of me. So again, if you're watching YouTube, this is where I started. Okay, I was really, really sick. Mom, 3-year-old, 5-year-old, just wanted to be their mom. And it took me 16 years to heal, and that's really how I created the system. So what I do know is for anybody with thyroid issues is I had those too. I was not diagnosed. And we really do have to look at the whole body, mind, spirit pieces to really be happy, successful, and, have the life you want.
Absolutely. I think those are amazing kind of pictures that you showed over there, an amazing system that you have. I think I would like to kind of go back to the very basic question of what is trauma, because most people, think about trauma being a physical thing or really, really bad situation, emotional, or a sexual trauma they have gone through. But I think, like trauma can be anything, even minor issues that, people might have been holding for a long time. Obviously, I'm
Yes.
not really trained in trauma work, so I cannot define it very well. And that's the reason I would like you to define trauma for people, or what things define as trauma.
Yeah, that's a great question. So trauma really can be anything that any emotion that gets stuck as a little memory, almost like a cellular memory, and it creates actually a lesion in the brain. So Dr. Hamer did this work. He's a German doctor that studied and worked a lot with cancer patients. He just passed about a couple of years ago, but it's called Hamer New Medicine, Hamer. And here's how he discovered trauma. So as an example about trauma, his son was shot at age 17 and died. And 3 months later, he got testicular cancer. And he said to himself, why did I get this cancer? I was healthy before. So he said, it must be the trauma of losing my son. Well, he took SPECT scans of people's brains, and he actually showed the lesion in his brain where that trauma was stuck. So that's what I mean by the trauma gets stuck in the brain. It creates a little, I call cellular memory bump. Actually, after him, it was called a Hamer-Herd, Herd. And so what he did is he cleared trauma, and all of his cancer patients, all different kinds. So for example, if someone had esophageal cancer, the trauma was not being able to swallow a morsel. You'd also call it like an it stinks moment. So in that moment, someone, maybe they were made to eat their peas and they don't like peas. And they were 3 years old and they had to sit at the table till they finished their peas. That can create a trauma. So it doesn't have to be an accident or a rape or something like that, although it can be, And when I started clearing trauma, what was so interesting, Dr. Gupta, was I was a teacher before. I was a special ed teacher. And some of the worst emotions and the stuff that's stuck in people's brains that I could see were things from school.
Mm.
I was like, oh, that's the third grade bully. They'd tell me a story and then we would clear it and they would, feel lighter. So a trauma really is any sort of emotional charge, big or little. So in other words, an accident and the shock of an accident can also be, there isn't a registry of like numbers of severity. So the accident and the shock that you had, yes, that created shock. The shock of losing a parent, the shock of losing an animal, okay? The shock of falling off a swing. In other words, if the brain just registers the shock and the emotion. And so it doesn't know the difference between falling off the swing and the accident. It's not how it's registered in the brain. So big or little traumas doesn't matter. They still need to be cleared.
And obviously, people can hold off to these traumas for maybe years then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so what I find is then they create the same pattern. So let's say you had a pattern of abandonment. Okay. Or maybe somebody was adopted. Okay. And so they never felt like they knew their birth parents. And that abandonment that started in the womb for age like 5 days or whatever, now when they're 16, they have another abandonment. Now when they're 25, they have another abandonment. So what happens is that pattern gets stuck, and what I do is rewire the brain so the pattern doesn't continue. So I always tell people, bring me your kids too. I want to work with the kids so that doesn't get stuck, and we can change that earlier.
So, I mean, obviously, people can have multiple traumas, right? Which they pick up, during this kind of lifetime of theirs. So, when you start working with people, do you identify specific traumas they have gone through, or you just kind of work on, like, clearing all the traumas at the same time?
No, good question. In fact, could we do a demo maybe? So yeah, let's try this. No, good. So no, we can't clear them all at the same time. We're always evolving and we're always changing. I think of it as an onion skin peeling. It's like the first time I work with somebody, it's everything that's coming up at that time. It could be things from childhood. Then maybe the next time that I work with somebody, it's not childhood, but there's still a few things from childhood, but it's also ancestral. It's something from grandma or grandpa. So when I clear the ancestral trauma, for an example, I'm thinking of a woman that I work with who had done all this work with other coaches, tons and tons of energy work, tons of work. She had lesions in her brain. So that was the physical thing. So sort of beginning MS, but the mental, emotional part and her business wasn't where she wanted it to be at all. In fact, she had been trying to have a retreat for 7 years. So she's a coach. And when we cleared the ancestral trauma in 4 months, brain better, lesions not growing, and she had her retreat. She finally had clients. She was making money because we cleared the trauma.
Awesome. So it works really good, in terms of changing your whole life. This is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's more transformational. It's not just thyroid. I mean, you do specific, beautiful stuff with people with thyroid. I do more transformational work, but I do get some people with thyroid issues, fatigue issues, and those kinds of things. And I find that sometimes it's not just, they might already be working with a functional medicine doctor, but the piece that's missing is the mental, emotional, and clearing the trauma.
Absolutely. And I think, like you alluded to a very interesting topic about iodine allergies, and then how you kind of, with feedback could be helpful for that. And we know that iodine is a very, very interesting topic in world of Hashimoto's and thyroid, because some people say
Yes.
low iodine is bad and high iodine is bad. And I think you have come up with this very interesting topic of iodine allergies. So tell us more about that piece.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was working a lot with people with thyroid, I figured out that they could be sensitive to iodine, especially people with goiter. And so I still remember this woman, and I was teaching a class actually out in California, and she had a goiter and always wore turtlenecks. So a goiter is where, your thyroid's enlarged there, right? And I said, I think you're sensitive to iodine. Let's treat you for iodine. And so I did a cellular retraining, which is actually retraining the pituitary hypothalamus pineal axis in the brain. It's like telling the brain to no longer be sensitive and the whole body to be sensitive to iodine. So we did the cellular retraining on Saturday, and when she came back Sunday, her goiter was already down. So I found that some people are sensitive to iodine and they can't uptake it. And so when we're trying to treat thyroid issues, if we don't know that and we give someone iodine and they're not getting better, that might be a clue that we have to do that.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that's definitely, I have never kind of tried it, or, never heard of that before. So very intriguing aspect, because once in a while we do get, some clients which we have done a lot of things and they're just not moving forward. And I think
Mm-hmm.
certainly those people could be very, very useful in terms
And
of.
then, Dr. Brownstein did that work, that book, right? Do you know Dr. Brownstein, the book on the
Mhm.
iodine?
Yeah,
Um, I think about how the halogen family affects the uptake of iodine too. So the halogen family, that just means chlorine, bromine, fluoride, fluorine, right? All the halogens. And what I was taught is on the chemistry periodic table, iodine is in that same family. And what happens is in the molecule, like if you were going to look at it under a microscope in the molecule, it's tyrosine with iodine around it, right? Is that correct?
that's correct.
Like
Yep.
chemistry wise.
Hmm.
And so if iodine can't be uptaken to make that molecule look like it's a good intact iodine molecule, halogens, meaning if you're in the pool all the time, you're swimming, you're a swimmer,
Right.
that means all those chlorine molecules are around that middle tyrosine, but in a blood test, it actually doesn't even look like those chlorine molecules are chlorine. It just looks like that's your iodine and it's all intact and it's fine.
Hmm.
And so then they go, hey, you're fine. Your blood tests are fine. You don't have anything.
Mhm.
It's all in your head. You're fine.
That is true.
And yeah, so that's what I found too, is we have to work on releasing the heavy metals and the iodine. Oh, one other story. I have to tell this story. I had a woman from Thailand who lived in a community where they mined lead,
Hmm.
and she had her thyroid removed. So she had
Wow.
thyroid cancer. And she said, I can't take the medication. It's not working for me. So we had to treat her for the medication using that cellular retraining. But then we found a different supplement that even worked better, a more natural supplement. But the reason she had thyroid cancer is from the lead in the water.
Wow.
Okay. So heavy metals, especially lead and copper, I found definitely affect thyroid.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. You definitely check, like a lot of people for those heavy metals. And, you're absolutely correct. There are a good amount of research which suggests that they can
Mm-hmm.
be causing a lot of, thyroid problems. So, I mean, tell us a little bit more about the system, though. Like, how do you balance this brain? Is it like, frequency medicines, or is it like, something else that you use so people have an idea of what exactly it is doing?
Yeah, I do something called a soul tie box. So it's an intuitive process. Let's see if we can do a little bit right now. If I asked you, give me a sentence about what you want to have change or be different. So if you pretend for a second, Dr. Gupta, that you are your audience, you are your people, the people you work with, what would they want to have change or be different?
What would they want to change to be different?
Yeah, like just give me like a sentence like about that.
Well, I think most people will say that I want to have more energy in my life, so I can, be with my kids.
Okay, so I have more energy in my life to be with my kids. Okay. So if you had more energy in your life to be with your kids, how would that make you feel?
Happy.
Okay, awesome. How else would it make you feel?
Satisfied, that I'm worthwhile, that I can help my kids and be with them.
Okay. That was my prayer too. I looked at my son's little face and was like, honey, you saved my life. Um, uh, so, okay, so here's what we do. We put you feeling satisfied. So this is everyone listening. This is the audience, right? Having energy, feeling satisfied, feeling happy in the box. And then I draw the strings. Now I am using an intuitive process where I go into the energy field and I figure out at what ages or where those traumas got stuck. Okay. And then we clear them. So I'm just going to do two quick little strings here. And so let me see. I'm going to try to clue into the whole audience, but it might end up being more you.
Mhm.
Okay. So if you might feel something as we do this, but I promise I'll bring you back up. All right. So this is a male female situation. It's a situation. Is it a situation when this group was what age? Were they kids? Yes. Was it something 0 through 5, 5 through 10, 10 through 15, 10 through 15, 10, 11? It's a situation at age 11. Is it a situation at age 11 for Dr. Gupta? It could be you, could also be everyone here. Okay. It works by the power of the spoken word. So emotions and words are important. We can rewire the brain with positive words, right? So if you're feeling really tired, but you go do something that makes you happy, or you laugh and you say, hey, I'm going to have all the energy I want today. That has a different energy than, oh God, I'm so tired, right? You
Mhm.
know? So words are important. And so I have lists of words here. And so I name the negative words about the situation at age 11. So let's see. Here, 1, 2, 3. Confusion, panic. So confusion, panic. What else? Do you actually remember anything at age 11 while I'm doing this? For you?
I don't know, actually. I don't remember much. I
You
got
don't
sick.
remember
I
much?
got sick at some point of time, which was in my fifth grade. How old I would be at the time? Fifth grade probably
Yeah.
is around 11.
Yeah. Fifth grade could be around 11.
Yeah, I got really sick, like, for like a couple of months. I was in the hospital. Nobody had any idea what was going on with me. I was tossed around, like between doctors and hospital. So that was like one of the things that have big thing happened in my life for 2 months, actually, like in and out of the hospital.
Well, that's why we got confusion and panic.
Hmm.
And so I'm going to see if there's definitely shock. Is there shock still somewhere in your body? Is it in a brain part? No. Is it in a body part? It's in a body part. Can I ask? Here. I get shock in the lungs. We're going to clear shock in the lungs for you and everyone listening. So this is called a motion code. I'm just going to go like this and down my brain, down my corpus callosum, and say I release the shock that's in the lungs. I release the shock that's in the lungs or any other organ system for people listening here. I release the shock that's in the lungs. I easily release the shock in the lungs. I release the shock in the lungs. We always have to clear shock to heal. And everyone has it. Your birth can be a shock, right? But that confusion, that panic, that shock, that helplessness and hopelessness and the lack of control. I even got rejection and fear. And so what we say is all of those are, I either ask, is it a liar, thief, or fraud? Now here's how it clears the brain and the soul. Liar, thief, fraud, kill, steal, or destroy came from John 10:10 in the Bible. It actually clears the soul level in a sense of the brain. So people feel a shift or feel different almost immediately. And then again, there's layers of this. So that's a thief on our you having energy, feeling happy, feeling satisfied, right? And then we say, what did it do? And we reclaim the positive words. It stole love. So we're reclaiming more love, freedom, energy, clarity, security, protection. And so it's like we reclaim those. We've got those back now, because we cleared the brain and the soul. And then sometimes I say another little clearing statement. This is energy work. I didn't make this up. It's called access consciousness. So it's another body of work. And we just say, I easily release the situation at age 11, any of the emotions there, the shock of being in the hospitals, being tossed around, having all that confusion, that frustration. And for anybody else, the emotions at 11, whatever their shock was, their pain was, their frustration and overwhelm. We say, I release that now, let it go, allow you to be free, to be happy, to be satisfied, get your energy back. Good and bad, right and wrong, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I know that makes no sense. It's called a clearing statement. Okay? And it just kind of clears the energy. And so what I'm feeling or watching, and I want to ask you is, do you feel a little bit lighter? Like, did something shift a little bit?
A little bit, yeah, I will say, yeah.
Yeah, we're watching your face. It's good. Okay, it's really good. Okay, and one more string here. Let's see, is this a male, female, or situation? It's another situation. Is it recent or old? It's an old situation. Is it something with you? Yes. Is it something with your audience? Yes. Is it also when you were a kid? No. Wow, cool. Is it womb stuff? I want to clear the womb. So this is when you were in your mom's womb. So that's really important time, and we don't even realize it. We take on mom's emotions or the people around us. Okay, so I got perfectionist. Ooh, you see that pattern a lot with Hashimoto's, don't you?
Oh, I do. Yes, that's true. A lot of type A personality people, like they're coming to see us every day. I was like, oh, there's something out there.
Yes. It's so interesting, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yep, I'm like that for sure. I'm a work in progress, getting better every year. Perfectionistic, lost, insecurity is womb energy, overwhelm, and worry. So let's clear all that. Overwhelm and worry. So liar, thief. So that's a thief on us feeling energetic, satisfied, happy, right? Killing, stealing. So stealing. Let's see what the positive words are. Freedom. We're reclaiming freedom and comfort and pleasure. So we're getting back our freedom, our comfort, our pleasure. Yay. Let's see. Our vision of what we thought would be. That's a good one. And our gratitude. Awesome. So I'm just going to say that little clearing statement again. Good and bad, right and wrong, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Yay. Cool. Awesome. Okay. So that's the R equals releasing.
Okay.
Okay. To reboot the brain and rewire it with, I have more energy to be with my kids. I feel happy, all of those. I do some energy work, and this is the part that looks funny, especially we're thinking medical doctors and, the brilliance that you have. This looks, it's not something ever taught in those schools. Okay. Um, and so it looks funny, but it has to do with numbers and codes.
Wow.
And so, like, math is the universal language.
Mm-hmm.
So think of it like sacred geometry.
Okay. That's
And
amazing.
it works on, instead of acupuncture points on the body, it works on what we call spin points or energy points in the energy field. So, like, pain actually starts in the field. So
Hmm.
we have to take it away in the field. Otherwise, we'll never just get it with Traumeel and Bengay and essential oils. It's not going to happen, right? It may
Right.
feel better, but it's not going to take it all away. So I'm just
Exactly.
going to have you say these words, and then we're going to use these codes and numbers to integrate it. So say, I have more energy to be with my kids.
I have more energy to be with my kids.
I feel happy,
I feel happy,
satisfied,
satisfied,
um, and I am worthy.
and I'm worthy.
Okay. And I can play more with my kids and my family.
I can play more with my kids and my family.
Okay, so we're going to integrate those. It's like rewiring you, your audience for that. Okay, so I'm
Awesome.
just going to be circling my hand and saying some numbers. So I'm working in the energetic field on what we call spin points instead of acupuncture points. So
Hmm.
2-3 love, 5-3 forgiveness, 6-5 choice, 9-2 freedom, 4-2 greater love. And I come down the front of your body, 4-2. I think I'll have you say these. Say, I have positive self-worth.
I have positive self-worth.
2-2. Say, I choose to succeed.
I choose to succeed.
Good. 4-4. I choose to live in joy.
I choose to live in joy.
And 6-2. I choose to live by the higher laws.
I choose to live by higher laws.
Excellent. Do I need to do more than that? No. Okay. And then we lock it in. So I'm just going to have you say those again. Say, I have more energy to be with my kids.
I have more energy to be with my kids.
Good job. I feel happy
I feel happy
and satisfied.
and satisfied.
I am worthy.
I am worthy.
And I can play more with my kids, my family.
I can play more with my kids and my family.
Yay, very, very good. And then we do something called a lock. And so the way we lock it in is we put our hands together above your head. And if I was physically with you, I would try to pull them down. Okay. And you would just stay strong. So we call it a lock. Okay. And then we're going to cone our fingers on our right hand and make a circle in front of your heart and say 2-2.
Two,
So like
two,
right in front of your heart, like right here.
two,
Two,
two.
two. I choose to succeed.
I choose to succeed.
And then tap your belly button 8 times. Awesome. Beautiful. Yay. How do you feel?
Feel good.
Feel good?
Yeah. More
Yeah.
energy.
More energy?
Yeah.
Good. Isn't that so cool? And thank you for letting me do that. I know this is like outside the box a little bit.
Yes, we never expected that to happen.
Yeah. I never know where it's going to go.
Mm.
But yeah. So
Yeah.
that's an example, I guess, of a quick little sort of brain system.
Awesome, awesome. That is great. Thank you so much for kind of, giving us a good glimpse of what it means and for me to kind of, experience it. So, and I think you have similar offerings for people where they can actually get in touch with you and then kind of know and maybe experience this. So tell us more about that piece.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually I have 2 things. One is a brain soul assessment. And so it's an opportunity to talk with me so I can learn about you and find out if I have anything that will help you. So I kind of look at your number one, I guess, biggest trauma. We figure it out. And then there's always more. So that's a brain soul assessment. So that's free. That's on my website. We'll give you the link. The other thing that I would love to share with your audience here is something called Mind Gems. And Mind Gems, again, is just a freebie on my website. We'll give you the link. And it's 12 little exercises that balance the brain rings. So they do help people with sleep, with focus, with clarity, with memory, with like aligning, like balance. So I do them every morning and every night. Most of my clients do the same, and you will feel it different after 20. Sometimes people feel it right away. I always say give it 21 days. But those are really powerful. And even kids, 4-year-olds, 6-year-olds, have them do that. I had all of my own kids, as well as all the students that I worked with when I started learning this work, and they got better grades in school.
Wow, that's awesome. Great. And
Yeah.
definitely we'll have all those links in the show notes. So please check out those links. I think what Dr. Lewis is sharing over here can be helpful for each and every person, just changing our lives completely. So I'm going to definitely look at those freebies and start doing those exercises today. Hopefully my kids can do it too. But Dr. Lewis, thank you so much. This was definitely a very different episode that we recorded today, sharing something very different. And I
Yes.
think people need to have a little bit more open mind to accept that there is something beyond food and medicines out there. And I think people, especially who are not able to move their needle, not getting better with just changing their diet, I think something that they should be looking more. And I think this system sounds really a great opportunity for them.
Yeah, thank you so much. And again, thank you for having me. And thank you for the good work that you're doing and all that you're getting out there for people. You do a stellar job. Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the great words. And again, thank you for coming over here.